I've said it before and I'll say it again. We live in the best country in the world at the best point in history. You have access to anything that you want. Any type of food you can think of, you just walk into the supermarket and buy. Water, you have access to clean, fresh water. You have access to health care, at the point of delivery. All these things you have access to. And we're really at a zenith in human history. But the one thing that I think that this has done is it has brought out the worst in human nature. So I go to a pub for my breakfast. I do that quite regularly. And the pub that I go to, I'm not going to name it, and I'm not going to name many of the specifics because I don't want to name and shame or drop anybody in there. So I'm just gonna be very, very vague about what happened. So on days of certain events, this pub has a certain license condition, and the license condition that it has is that it has to have plastic glasses. And the reason for this is because some of its patrons can't be trusted. That isn't to say that it's anything to do with the pub itself, it's just to do with the people that frequent there from time to time can't be trusted. So at one point in the morning, around the 10 to 10:30 mark, which is normally when this license provision kicks in, when you have to only have plastic glasses, the woman, the manager of the pub, goes over to this group of men who are still using glass glasses, and she asks them to change it over to a plastic one, and they say no, and they start having a go at her. And then she says, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you 5 minutes to finish it, and then we've got to put it in a plastic glass. So she's given them the benefit of the doubt, right? And then once she's given them the benefit of the doubt, she's gone back over, and then they start mouthing off at her. And the thing that they start doing is that they start pointing at her. And that is always, literally in any conversation, never point. If you're trying to get your point across, don't point at someone. Open palm. Just kind of like it says, your body language then says, I'm drawing a line in the sand over this. Gives them that mental image that they probably shouldn't push their luck. And so they tend to back down a little bit more. Anyway, by the by, yeah, so they started pointing and getting really, really aggressive with her, saying, oh, you said this, you said that, you said the other. And she was like, no, I didn't, no, I didn't, no, I didn't. And it was just starting to get really, really, really fucking heated. At which point, they started getting really horrible towards her, really aggressive, not backing down. And so it was like, right, okay. So she said, right, okay, that's it. If you're not going to put it in a plastic glass, leave. It's as simple as that. They've got a very specific rule they have to keep to. If you as one of their customers do not wish to obey that rule, you have to leave the premises. Go elsewhere. Incidentally, nowhere else in the area as well could serve it in a glass, had to be in a plastic glass. So by the by, go elsewhere. Things got heated again. I'm not going to serve you if you come to the bar. This is it. You're not welcome in this pub anymore. You're banned. And it's like, right, okay, so they get banned from the pub. They're going to leave it and never come back there, which I think is probably in their. That serves them worse than it serves the pub, if that makes sense. So because it's one of those, and yeah, they get another set of customers, and you know, those guys can go elsewhere to drink. So it's like we've got those two things there, and all this aggro and all this drama was over a plastic glass. That's what it was about. Nothing more. Just the idea of switching from a glass into a plastic glass. That's what it was about. And what a luxury that we live in a country where we can argue about things like that. That we can have these incidental, imaginary problems that don't really exist. And that we can create such negativity over something like that because we don't have negativity over anything else. What a luxury that that's the point that we live in. And the only thing that I would say is as well as being a marker of how good we have it, maybe just remember that at some point in the future we might not be able to afford to argue over such menial small stuff, and that's something to remember as well. We've had it so good for so long that we create problems for ourselves. I firmly believe that, and that I think that we're coming up to a point where we won't have it so good, and we'll actually have to find solutions to those problems. What a luxury to be able to squabble about these things now.